Hello, this is Matt Montgomery, sales agronomist with Burris. Today, we wanted to conduct a little pre-season weed emergence general weeds review. First though, we must give credit where credit is due. The emergence information in this presentation is drawn largely from this great few to several year old publication. We also drew a lot of our material from these two extension publications as well. University Extension is a tremendous resource for our industry. Don't underestimate the value that they bring to your state. Now back to that first slide. As Extension did in this publication, we're going to divide up weeds into 4 different emergence categories. Group 0, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, and finally Group 4. We're also going to note what their period of emergence tends to look like, and we will note if they are currently glyphosate resistance issues or if they just tend to be species that are naturally tough to kill with glyphosate. For today, we will talk about Group 0. 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be saved for another session. So let's get started. Let's start with Group 0 and let's define it. As you can see, Group 0 really consists of those weeds that got started last fall, around the time just after the time of harvest, and they've been sitting there throughout the winter. These winter annuals, most of these are called winter annuals, will clock out once heat begins to crank up in the spring, but for now, they can present a real headache for growers as they attract insects, in some cases promote SCN, soybean cyst nematode survival, and occasionally screw up planting. Don't get too extravagant when controlling these weeds in the fall. Use a cheap route to eliminate them. Consider holding off on residuals for some other weeds in the spring. We'll briefly mention members of this emergence category. Marestail was well known a couple of years ago when we suddenly realized there was lots of glyphosate resistance in that population. Frankly, we just could not get ahead of some Marestail infestations, and there are too many lateral buds on the thing to burn it down well when it gets tall. In some cases, glyphosate would burn out the tops of the plant, lateral buds would take over, and the thing would resemble a tree rather than a solitary stalk. Some interesting side notes. This thing is a member of the sunflower family, and while it looks like goldenrod, Marestail has a taproot, while goldenrod has rhizomes, underground stems that branch out. Now, field pennycress is a member of the mustard family, 4 petals per flower, and it has round, flat seeds. It also, unfortunately, is an alternate host for the soybean cyst nematode, SCN. Leave this one in the field and you may promote some cysts despite using other management techniques. Unfortunately, there are some other winter annuals that promote cysts even more. I used to love this one as a kid, yellow wood sorrel, because its leaves and stems have a very sour taste. In fact, it's so sour that my mouth is watering just a little bit right now thinking about it. This thing has a taproot, and it's usually deemed a weak cyst nematode host. If you like to take care of your lawn, this one is as familiar to you around the home as it is in the field. Chickweed is also a weak cyst nematode host, but the thick mat it forms promotes planting problems. It's also an attractant for cutworms, as are many winter annuals. This one really marks the transition from spring weeds to summer weeds because it burns out as the heat creeps up. Oh boy, we know this one way too well. If you have a field that turns purple in the spring, this, or Deadnettle, is the likely culprit. Henbit is a member of the mint family, as can be determined by the square-shaped cross-section of the stem. SCN loves this weed and can reproduce at fairly impressive levels on it. That thick mat may also create some issues, as is the case with many winter annuals, when it comes to getting residual pre-herbicides in contact with the soil. Like Henbit, purple Deadnettle is a really good host for SCN, and it also looks a little bit like Henbit, as it should because it's a member of the mint family, just like Henbit. Again, note the square shape of the stem. If you look at Henbit, though, the leaves seem to clasp or wrap around the square stem. Deadnettle does not clasp the stem. Instead, there is a slight leaf stem, a petiole, that connects those somewhat heart-shaped leaves to the stem itself. We'll close with Yellow Rocket, another member of the mustard family. 4-petaled yellow flowers. This one is a little bit different. It's kind of an in-between weed because it wavers between being a biennial, something that survives over 2 years, and a perennial, something that survives year to year to year. And thanks for watching Burris Agronomy U, and we look forward to talking about more weed species with you in the near future.